Welcome back, fellow horror geeks, and let's speak geek on some kaiju movies. It's 100 days of horror, and a lot of my 100 days are Godzilla or Godzilla-related movies, because I'm watching all through that series. I'm watching these because Godzilla vs. Kong comes out next March, and I've seen very few other Godzilla movies, so I'm filling that in. I'm so happy to be filling it during 100 days of horror, and kaiju is horror, so fuck you if not. Because if Fangoria put it on the first cover, and that's all you need. I previously did a review for Godzilla Rates Again not too long ago, but I've watched a bunch of them since then, and instead of doing a bunch of individual reviews for essentially similar movies, I'm going to put a bunch of them here together for one video catching up to where I'm at kaiju wise. So this one's be a little longer than my normal 100 days of horror. Because I don't have a lot to say about each of these. I do ultimately enjoy these. I have a lot of fun with them, but there's not a lot of notes and details to go into because these aren't full reviews. These are kind of sketches of what I'm feeling at the time. Obviously, by the time these could be a couple weeks ago because it's a little behind, but that's part of doing a bunch of these at once to get to catch up. And as I say in every other one of these videos, 100 Days of Horror, something we're doing at CV Geek, where a bunch of us watch 100 horror films we haven't seen in days leading up to Halloween and posting our results. I'm doing it on video. Most other people are doing it written, so you can find that at the Facebook group by searching 100 Days of Horror, someone with their face on it. Or if you go to cvgeek.com, there's a master post there. You can follow the link there. You can join us. It's not too late. If you join now, I can still put the information up there because I'm posting what everyone's writing and talking about onto the main page, even if you're watched 2 or 3, or if you've watched all 50 something at the day of this release. It's like 58, I think, as I do this review. So let's get to talking about some kaiju. Rodan, or Rodan, we spell it R-O-D-A-N. In the Japanese version it's R-A-D-O-N, so standing short for Paradon, or Pterodon, or whatever they are, but also having that radium sounding name to it. So we have, but they changed it in the United States so it's separated from a character. It's a similar name that goes around also, because it's 1956 when this particular movie comes out. And it wasn't originally a Godzilla movie. It just became ultimately merging with them, just like the Mothra movies eventually would. Mothra comes out after this, 1960, and I've already seen that previously, thanks on the Rift Tracks, the first time I had seen that. So I'm gonna skip right to those when I get to them, skip right past Mothra, so there's that spoiler alert. There's that thing, so don't comment saying, where's Mothra? For the 2 people who are going to watch this. And I was a little bit let down over Rodan. Now, I do defend Godzilla and the third American remake, the 2014 one, for not showing a lot of the big G. I understand that this is falling in that same process there. You start with that. Actually, it's kind of a lot of the same beats as Mothra, which come later, but you don't have Rodan about an hour in, and at this point, taking the same director and putting him on this, and you're gonna have other monsters heading up to it, just kind of feels like it's just taking its time way too much. Like, though you say we don't really see Godzilla that much in the first movie for that, it does kind of build to it. In this case, it doesn't really have a lot of that build. Almost feel like, something just made quickly in the wake of Godzilla, but we don't have that same things happening here and this is happening here, building up to this. There's a larval state thing with as they're mining, and you see this, and that kind of feels for a while, then that kind of stops off, and then you get Rodan properly for like 2 scenes at the end, where he doesn't really move very well. He's obviously hanging up and sliding around, so he looks kind of silly, to be honest. I know some of these movies look really silly on, but this is supposed to be scarier and supposed to be more terrifying, and then later movies where these are just monsters, battling, just to have fun while watching it. So I don't think it really quite works, and I was kind of let down. Maybe I need to rewatch it again, so you get that feel. I did follow this up on the same disc with War of the Garganuas. I'm never gonna pronounce that correctly. I'm not even gonna bother trying to edit through that right there. And it's actually a sequel to Frankenstein Conquers the World, though I haven't seen that. I didn't know that too. I was looking up information about it after I watched it, because it doesn't really... I kind of wondered where this Gargantuan came from. Like, it sounded like I should know what it is, but also, it could be, I thought maybe it's like translation or this and that, or maybe something that the Japanese people were more aware of. Maybe it's something from their culture. In this case, you have, the spot doesn't follow a giant monster, a giant prehistoric creature in some way destroying stuff, but 2 brothers, who are these giant Frankenstein-looking monsters, Frankenstein's monster-looking monsters. They're 2 giant doctors going, "It's alive!" Where one is raised by scientists to be good, and then this other one starts to appear and starts to wreck shit. So I think it's the first one, then you realize it's not, and then so these two brothers go and they fight over different places. It's funny how much like the woman says, no, mine's good, he doesn't wreck shit, and he goes off and wrecks shit. But you have this interesting dynamic there of these two monsters who are fighting, who are essentially the same thing, and one's trying to stop the other one, and so you got this good versus evil, I guess nature versus nurture type thing, because one's natural, one's made in nature, one is raised by humans. So you got that. The battle sequences are a lot of fun. I think it's really cool. It's done with a lot of love, and I can see why it's become a cult classic it has become since. It's one of those movies where this is a co-production with an American company, so you get Russ Tamblyn in there, not awkwardly added in like Raymond Burr was in the recut of Godzilla, but as a character interacting with everyone else, and it's fun watching the two of them. Like, and we see this in a couple movies that came on later on when there's more Americans working there. I think King Kong Lives does this too, or King Kong Escape does this too. I'll get to it when I get to it. But he's dubbed in because he's speaking English and they're speaking Japanese, and you can see like an Italian co-production, everyone's speaking their own language, and I always like watching that because knowing each person's speaking something completely different to each other, and just simply knowing their lines what gets it, rather than feeding off the energy you get. I guess you do feed off the energy a little bit different when you can't understand exactly what they're saying. You know what they're translated as, but they're not getting the same thing. So I wonder what the set was like of different languages speaking at the same place. I also want to see what an Italian set is like for that same reason. I'm pretty sure some of these Vinegar Syndrome DVDs I have can go over that, but it's a whole different thing. But where the Garganuas is a lot of fun. It's definitely a different take on this. It's cool to watch the two similar monsters battle and try and stop each other, because they have the different outlooks, rather than just Godzilla versus Ankylosaurus going brum, brum, brum. But you get more human-like battles, which is a good take. Russ Tamblyn, there's always Russ Tamblyn. He's so much fun. Dr. Jacoby, then everything else he's done. But so let's move on to the next. Now we jump to entry 45 at 1963's Cheese Fest, Godzilla vs. Kong, which of course gets its own remake here coming up next year. For the reason doing this, this is where those two worlds merged into one. This is where it gets a little more childish and silly, but still enjoyable as hell. I love seeing Godzilla and Kong fight it off, and Kong's kind of disturbing look. I know it's a cheapy mask, but it kind of makes you feel weird. That's a weird thing to say there. I guess it's the way his face looks just throws me off. Maybe because that's not what I expect to see for Kong, and that's not what we've seen in the other Kong movies I've seen, since it's the first time I've seen this one. In their third movie for each of them, after Kong and Son of Kong and Godzilla Raises Again, they become fighting each other, which is, I really love the weird exposition where they tell us one thing or they show it to us, and then the American newscaster shows up and talks directly to the camera about the thing we just saw, or why people are doing what they need to do, or like people in conversation talking about motivation. Then he comes off and tells us that motivation. He almost feels like added in. He might have been for American audiences. There is American and US different cuts of this movie, but there's just in some certain points of it, unlike what urban legends say, there wasn't Kong wins one and Godzilla wins one. Kong wins both cases because Kong is the protagonist here. Godzilla is still the villain, coming back and wrecking shit. But the battles themselves is fun. It's weird to watch them kind of like throw rocks at each other for a little bit and kind of like bounce against one another. But I had a lot of fun watching this movie. This is it's cheesy, stupid fun. It's exactly what it says to be. King Kong and Godzilla punching at each other, throwing rocks at each other, and doing these moves at one another. Of course, King Kong's like 3 times the size it used to be in order to match up with the big G. But it's life. But it's interesting to note that this used to start out as a Frankenstein's monster type thing, like Lord of Garganuas type monster, but they ultimately left the giant Frankenstein monster behind to make Godzilla instead, and I think it's all the better for it. Kind of Godzilla versus Frankenstein. No, King Kong versus Frankenstein would have been kind of a weird thing. Sploosh. But now you have big monsters fighting each other. Now, Mothra vs. Godzilla came in 1964 and features the first time that these two combined, because they're probably two best known kaiju of the series. Obviously, Godzilla is the most known in the Godzilla movies. This is still directed by Ishiro Honda, and I think this is the favorite of the movies I've watched so far. This is it's so much to enjoy. I love Mothra. Mothra's my gal. Mothra and Godzilla together have different power sets, which just makes it really good to clash. So just do a couple different versions of Mothra. Start out with the one from the last movie, who's slowly dying. And then replaced by two larvae later on, who actually all they stay as larvae for the next several movies, which is kind of weird. Because you think Mothra, you think the moth that's hatched. And the way they come together works out really well. This works really well as a sequel for Mothra, since we follow up with that. We get the twins to come back, and I love the twins, and I love the effects on Mothra. She looks so cool, and like Godzilla himself is a new suit which moves so much easier, so he feels like he flows a little much more. So when he does have to fight, it's not the same way fighting from previous. So it's a big step forward in all the ways. Like they really get a hang on where things are going from this particular movie. So the last couple were kind of iffy, and here's where it really sets. And I like the way the story wasn't simply, oh, there's a giant monster, here's a giant monster. Godzilla kind of wanders his way into the story. He wanders his way into a Mothra sequel, which is pretty cool. Yeah, because they find a Mothra egg and try to start an amusement park around it, and it's gonna get these people fighting about that. And then Godzilla just washes up. It's like, oh wait, I'm awake after my fight with King Kong. What's this? Oh, I'm gonna destroy some shit. He's still antagonistic until I think next time. After saying that, yeah, monsters battle, things fight. You got a lot of cool stuff. So I enjoy the living hell of Mothra vs. Godzilla. This one I actually own. The other ones I've been renting, and I can't wait to watch it again. I got it on the shelf. I want to watch the commentary. I'm really looking forward to watching that because I want to find out more about how they made this movie, and I really just want to watch it again on its own. So Mothra vs. Godzilla is my favorite of the kaiju movies I've seen from the series so far, as of this far into the series, and a little bit further as of to what's on this video. It's my favorite of these. Ghidorah, the three-headed monster, in which we have the first appearance of the big bad of this series, because Ghidorah's probably shown up as the villain more often than anyone else in there, where you start to have the turn of Godzilla into the hero, with the Mothra pups, Mothra larvae, continuing on from the previous films. So we get a direct sequel coming out the exact same year as the last entry. Ghidorah is a wonderful design. I love the three heads and the no arms and moving around. And of course, Rodan shows up in this one too, so the first time we get like kind of all the monsters coming together, the same monster we'll see. And Godzilla King of the Monsters came out this year, which I really loved. So you can check out the review for that. I've mentioned it elsewhere. And I love that in this one we have all sorts of other things going on. We got the Japanese gangsters going after the princess the princess who's become taken over by the Venetians, whatever. People were warning them against Ghidorah when he shows up and starts wrecking shit. So you get a lot of really weird stuff. Like this entire other plot with the assassination attempts is really doesn't seem to match with everything else. But I love the way they mesh together, and people are really confused about how this woman keeps living because she's attacked by because she has an alien in her, and her confusion. And of course the monster battles are really cool. And but the weirdest thing with this one is when the twins are talking or translating for Mothra talking to Rodan and Godzilla about what's happening. It's like, we need to save the humans and save the planet. And Godzilla's like, fuck no, I hate the humans and I'm gonna destroy their shit. And Rodan's like, yeah, down with the humans, you know. And Mothra's like, but Ghidorah's gonna destroy everything and you can't wreck their shit if he does. And they're like, oh, fine. Which makes it weird because it almost feels like Godzilla's been sentient this entire time. Like, knowing perfectly well that he's wrecking shit, not because he's an animal and being drawn to the nuclear stuff or to just simply the power, but more of like, I see human shit, I'm gonna fucking destroy it. So it's weird to have him like have that understanding and there's the human things, and that we'll get that later on in the series where he starts to go like this with his head, and you know, in this case he's doing this too, like where he starts to move like a human, just a giant sized green human with atomic power breath. Makes it kind of weird, makes him kind of an asshole when he destroys shit, rather than an animal. So rather be an animal than an asshole, but it does give him personality, I guess. So we do get personalities out of the monsters in this case, because we get, you know, we do have speech with them in a different way, and so we get that connection. We still have the Mothra larvae, and I love the stuff, the shit they spit, which is fun. And the four monsters, you know, fighting it looks really good. There's a lot of work put in there to make sure the fight choreography is solid stuff. So yeah, on that. And we're back a day later. I do have a different shirt on. It's just cut off anyways. You might not even wear. I can't remember what I wore yesterday. But I ran out of battery power, so we are jumping up. So things like maybe look a little different. So that's what's weird is going on. But now we're looking at 1965 for our 51st movie, so we made it halfway through 100 Days of Horror, and probably about a fourth of the way through this particular video. I'm not sure how long it's going to turn out or how many movies I have left for Godzilla at the moment to catch up on for reviews. But anyway, we're looking at an invasion of the Astro-Monster, also known as Godzilla vs. Monster Zero. And it features everyone from the last movie, so Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra, King Ghidorah, in which now we move into space. Yes, every movie series eventually goes to space. Every single movie series eventually goes to space. It's where I would insert some joke about some drama series that has a zillion entries, but fuck it. I'm not gonna take that time to think about it because who's watching this anyway, right? Yay! No, I'm kidding. So we have aliens who say, "Hey, King Ghidorah's in our town. Can you loan us your monsters so we can get rid of them?" So we do with these weird floaty ball things that take them where we're going. It's really funny watching all the monsters like being shoved in that as they move around. They go to the other planet to fight King Ghidorah. Then it turns out, it's a surprise to nobody, that the aliens are really controlling King Ghidorah and use this to control the other monsters, send them back to Earth to wreck shit. Yes, again we have the monsters wrecking shit, but that's what we're here to see, and that's what we get, and that's what's so much fun. Actually, this one's really well put together with the monster battles, and I'm really appreciating in this watching as a series that each of them doesn't feel exactly the same, though we have the same basic concept of a bunch of monsters wreck shit as they fight each other and fight other things. But it's still thrilling. It's still a lot of fun. It's just fun watching these monsters do what they need to do. I love watching miniatures. I love models. I love watching big things smashing small things, and I'll fully admit it. I'm watching it as the numbers have been going up. I'm watching like a bunch of these in a row, and I got like 2 more before I move into other things. At least on the actual reviews, and for this particular review, it's going to be a bunch of Godzilla movies before I actually got to King Kong, but I digress. So yeah, this is a little bit more of the same, but still at the same is so much fun. But this one was featured as one of the episodes of Mystery Science Theater 3000, though I did watch it straight, so I had to, this one and another one have Mystery Science attached to them, but I'm just going to watch them as they are, because I've technically seen the Mystery Science versions before, but those are cut with the commentaries and everything. And of course, it's my favorite TV show. But I wanted to watch these fresh in that way. That's why I'm still counting them as new, because I'm seeing a completely different cut and focusing different. So we have Ebirah, Monster of the Deep, which in this case it cuts us back down to only a couple of different monsters, which you have Godzilla fighting a crab monster. There's not a lot to say about this particular entry. It's pretty low-key, it's pretty kind of push out, but it does have underwater photography, which is really cool, watching the suits fight in that way, like Godzilla ripping him apart and kind of beating him with his own claw, it's a fun one. It's a disposable movie in the series, with some interesting moments, but for the most part, it doesn't really offer anything that the previous ones didn't. Son of Godzilla looks silly, like the actual creature, and we increase the human qualities to Godzilla with him. The way he acts and the way he treats his son, it's really so far removed from 1954 now, or late 60s, like 67, that it's so weird to see it in this way after watching so many. Yeah, honestly, Menzilla is really annoying. I hate watching him just like move around and Godzilla trying to teach him to fight by beating him up. It's kind of weird. Corporal punishment apparently works on Son of Godzilla. Yeah, but it is a point where it gets kind of really kiddie and silly, and it's lost me a little bit in this case. Adding in something like this is like adding the cousin Oliver in Brady Bunch, or Roy in The Simpsons for that Poochie episode. It kind of feels like almost we need to do something different, which I kind of understand that. They did a bunch of monsters fighting, they did this, that, then they went back to Ebirah, which kind of cut it back down, and realized that probably isn't working much anymore, just since Ebirah which budget was so low they ended up reusing some of the footage. But I will say I did like the giant spider, even though it's very limited in its movement, but the praying mantises look really cool. I actually like the way that they shot them in a way, the way that they moved, because they're different than just simply the regular dude in suits. That might have been miniature. I'm not exactly sure what went into making these, but I like the way they looked, and I like the battles with them. Watching a couple of mantises and a giant spider fight Godzilla is different than, yeah, a couple guys bumping into each other and throwing each other around. So that's pretty cool. Interesting. We're all, I think, on an island. If I remember right, we're all on an island this time, so we don't get that sort of destruction. So we have to spend time with Godzilla. And this is the one with the Mecha Kong. Mecha Godzilla still hadn't come on the scene yet, so actually Mecha Kong was before Mecha Godzilla, which I'm looking forward to watching. I haven't seen Mecha Godzilla yet, so that's gonna be fun in a couple of days. When I get to that, I'm waiting for the disc to arrive. So yeah, but this one is a lot. This is a lot of silly fun. As much as I complained about Sunday Godzilla being silly and stupid and kid aimed, this one hit me in the right ways because Rankin Bass is doing a lot of the design for the Mecha Godzilla and regular Godzilla, and you can see that coming through. And I always love the way they look, whether it be Mad Monster Party or the Christmas specials and stuff. But Mad Monster Party, it's my boy. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. I've watched that so many times. It can't be one of my 100 days, but check out Mad Monster Party. Go watch that. And Mad Monsters if you could find it. It's kind of rare. But I haven't seen that, but I own it. So, but anyway, King Kong Escapes is it's fun. I love the main character Susan, her orgasmic screams at seeing Godzilla, seeing King Kong. I keep saying Godzilla so much because I've been talking about so many Godzilla movies. My wife was joking about that too. She's like, she seems way too happy here. It's like, yeah. The reason we have a Mecha Kong is for mining purposes, apparently, because this is the only way, this is the most logical way to get these things that they're searching for, is by making a giant robotic monster based upon the actual monster they have. Of course, the giant robotic monster doesn't work very well, so they use the actual ones, making it all worthless in its own way. But it does make for fun, makes for a lot of coolness. I love the sheer cheesiness of this. Our villain is named Doctor Who. Of course, not that Doctor Who, but there's some jokes to be made from that that you run out pretty quickly, but I still kept making them anyway, much to the annoyance of my wife. She doesn't even like Doctor Who. So that was fun because this guy is just like, you know, a cape wearing, you know, very, yes, it's the 60s, it's a feminine-ish bad guy, but he's chewing the scenery. He's been reminding me of Dr. Pretorius a little bit, and which if you want to see a good version of that, go watch Old Dark House, the first movie we covered, 100 Days of Horror this year. But King Kong Escapes was fun. It was goofy, it was light. And this movie is so much fun because you get all the monsters we've had so far, throw them together, making them fight, let them fight, to quote the new movies. And this movie is an absolute blast. So after several movies of just a handful of monsters, now we get every monster that's happened in these: Godzilla, Rodan, Mothra, King Ghidorah, the Gorosaurus from the last King Kong movie I talked about a minute ago. A bunch of monsters I'm not sure I quite saw before, but then we also the one Son of Kong, Son of Godzilla. See, just thin all together. I don't know which one I want to win because I keep liking them both. So we had the return of just sheer destruction. Yeah, a little more lighter and more kid friendly, but it's definitely done tongue-in-cheek, but done really fun. I liked watching everyone come together and attack in different ways and destroy everything. It's now so the basic plot of this, because you don't really care about plots anyway, it's now the future, like 1999 or so, and all the monsters live peacefully in Monster Island until some aliens come and destroy our shit by controlling everything and taking the world hostage. That they will destroy all the world with our monsters. Oh, and by the way, we have King Ghidorah. So King Ghidorah gets to come back again, because you know, aliens and King Ghidorah go together very well since he's an alien anyway. So we do have large scale destruction again. We have a lot of city destruction, lots of cool sequences of that done in very fun ways. We get the monsters, you know, all destroying shit on their own and then fighting a little bit and then kind of going after King Ghidorah. When they all come after King Ghidorah, that's a really fun sequence as each do their own power sets against them, and he holds his own, and as they all sort of turn and change. And that was so much. So Destroy Monsters is a blast and probably one of the best in the series. Fucking hate this movie. I hate this movie so much. I take back every complaint I had against Son of Godzilla and everything else, but this movie is a piece of fucking shit. Bob, tell us how you really feel. Now, this one's absolutely 100% aimed at kids. We have Kenny, who makes up the entire movie. This doesn't happen in canon at all. We have the monsters coming back, but little Kenny's alone a lot, so he has this radio transmitter he's putting together, and he falls asleep and he keeps dreaming being friends with Menzilla and Menzilla, whatever the fuck his name is. I don't care. I'm not going back to fix it. As we see everything that I had just spent the last, like, you know, 2 weeks watching all these movies. Did you want to watch the scenes from a bunch of these movies again? Because you can, but not as well put together because we're chopping them up. Now we have him. Manzilla shrinking to this kid's size so they can run around and do this stuff. I understand there's a little bit of bullying messaging with this, but the message of this is punch your bullies back, by the way. We have one new monster that's representing of the bully that the kid is experiencing, but we have these gangsters and mobsters coming after the kid because he saw them because they robbed a bunch of stuff. And so we spend a lot of time in the real world instead of fighting about monsters. It's essentially a clip show. It's luckily only 70 minutes long, so shorter than the rest of these. But it's a very, very, very long 70 minutes as you watch dumb jokes in the real world along with this kid's life, and then the movies I had just seen recut. I understand this could be done cheaply, putting out there, kind of definitely focusing on the kids now. But this is the last one I've watched so far for the series. I got Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, or I think Ghidorah is the name there, just arrived in the mail. So I'm going to watch that, and Gigan and Mecha Godzilla coming up. So I heard this one's a lot better, because if this is the last one I'm at for now, I fucking hate this. Oh, god damn, I hate this movie. Like, my poor wife watched me complain over the 70 minutes I watched this. She's watching these by choice. She's just reading as I'm doing this, so don't be concerned about her. But yeah, so we have a clip show with an annoying kid, with nothing actually happens in this world that we're seeing. Just a kid's fantasy of wanting to be best friends with Manzilla for some fucking reason, because he has nothing better to do. Go be friends with Gamera. Gamera is friend to children. So this time actually I'm going to cut this off and put out what I have here for these, like, what, 10 or 11 I've watched. I'm not even counting anymore. I'm going to watch a whole bunch here in the next couple of days. Now the one I've been waiting for has arrived. The Mecha Godzilla arrived from Netflix soon, to be tomorrow, I think. So, but thank you for watching all these with me. If you did, tell me how I am wrong. Brandon Corpus, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I know you love Godzilla to death, and I'm just trashing him. But there's a lot of stuff I like about these so far, and a lot of things I don't. But we'll see you later on. Stay geeky, and let's keep talking Godzilla. Yeah.